December 15. Good grief. Esther chapter 4 verse 1. When Mordecai learned all that had happened, he tore his clothes and put on sackcloth and ashes, and went out in the midst of the city. He cried out with a loud and bitter cry. In the cartoon strip Peanuts, Charlie Brown often exclaims, "Good grief." While he may not mean it in the literal sense, he is nevertheless right. Grief can be good. Studies show that those who express their anguish recover more quickly and are healthier as a result. When Mordecai learned of the terrible fate being planned for his people, he grieved. Furthermore, he showed the grief in the traditional Jewish way by donning sackcloth and ashes, lamenting loudly. Mordecai was not ashamed to show his sorrow, but neither did he let it sidetrack him. Following his expressions of grief, he took action. Some Christians equate grief with a lack of faith. To them, the unspoken rule is, if you mourn, then you are implying that God is not good. Instead of grieving, they say, just rejoice. But grief is a part of life, even for the most faithful. The Bible certainly establishes parameters for our grief. The Apostle Paul says, "But I do not want you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning those who have fallen asleep, lest you sorrow as others who have no hope." 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 verse 13. This verse does not exclude grief, but instructs us to hope in the midst of it. Jesus himself grieved at the tomb of his friend Lazarus, John chapter 11 verse 35, and even shed tears over the city of Jerusalem, Matthew chapter 23 verse 37. Certainly, Jesus was not lacking in faith. If you are grieving today, don't be ashamed of it. You are not an inferior or faithless Christian because you feel sorrow. Allow yourself the right to grieve, but don't let grief rule your life. Grieve some more, and then get up and get on with your life. Until the day comes when all tears will be wiped away, there's nothing wrong with good grief. We rejoice in spite of our grief, not in place of it. Amen.